Okay, welcome back to part two of the Study With Me series that I'm making for the RD exam. And just a reminder, for those of you who did not watch the first part of this series, um, this is just a way for me to force myself to review my notes instead of just writing notes and forgetting about them. Um, so today we are going to discuss domain one, the principles of dietetics, and this presentation is going to be part of the macros and the micros. And just a reminder, this isn't going to cover the entirety of domain one, principles of dietetics, but just the things that I want to kind of review and remember for the exam. All right, so water and electrolytes. In terms of this, we have insensible water loss or skin breathing, so that's like sweating, and other stuff like that. You have zero point 0.8 to 1.2 liters per day. And then these are the normal ranges of electrolytes. I'm pretty good with sodium, potassium, and phosphorus just because during my internship I did have to look at those. Like those are probably like the most important ones for all people that are in the hospital, regardless of what disease state you have. Um, However, I do have some things in my mistake notebook for this section. The first being high serum potassium level may cause EKG abnormalities. I think I put sodium instead of potassium, so although I guess the potassium aspect does make sense. Um, I think just whenever I have multiple choice questions, I think the thing that I have to remember is to kind of think through the logic behind it. Think, what are they trying to assess my knowledge on? Next, serum sodium level of 150 milliequivalents per liter indicates dehydration. I'm not sure what I selected that it indicated, but it makes sense that it indicates dehydration because that serum level is elevated. As you can see here, that like it's outside of the normal range, which makes sense because when you are doing a blood test, and if the sodium is a little high, um, it might be that like there's not enough fluid in the blood that can dilute it in that sense. And so it would make sense that the sodium is in high concentrations. Next, it says to decrease sodium intake, substitute unsalted margarine for regular margarine. Um, and that was interesting. I did not realize that unsalted margarine had less sodium than regular margarine. Um, that was something that was interesting that I wasn't too sure of. Um, I was a little confused on that. Um, but I also don't eat margarine, so it's not something I I would have known. Regardless. Next, one piece of cantaloupe for someone who is hi mildly hypokalemic. I think I don't have the that memorized yet, like the different um levels of common foods. So that was just something that I wasn't sure of. And then 150 milliequivalents per liter is a sign of hypernatremia. That makes sense. It's kind of following the same lines as dehydration mindset or rationale, if you will. Next, serum sodium level of 150 may be due to increased levels of aldosterone. And then finally, serum sodium level of 115 milliequivalents per liter may be due to overhydration. Makes sense. Oops, I skipped all the way. Oh my God, I'm going all over the place. All right, so review of micronutrients. Fat soluble. Vitamin A. The toxicity level is 10,000 IUs. You got the upper limit of 3,000 milligrams per day. RDA for men is 900 micrograms and women is 700 micrograms. You might also see it as retinol and retinol. It's stored in the liver, carotene precursor, and provitamin concentrated in the intestinal mucosal cells. It's used for skin, vision, growth, immunity, and teeth. Sources are yellow, orange fruits, dark leafy greens, fish liver. Children are at most risk for a vitamin A deficiency, which makes sense because if you need it for growth, and like that's time in your life where you're growing a lot. And the food source is like leafy greens. I think that's pretty common for kids to not like that. So that could be a reason. And then for my mistake notebook, so there was a multiple choice question that had multiple different ones. And one of the choices was involved with development of tissue and skin. And that's the correct answer. But another one was growth and development. And I chose that one because I was like, oh, growth. It is a factor in growth. However, it doesn't help with development specifically. And so I think that existed there as a kind of way to trick you a little bit. So I think I just have to really like read each option very carefully. So if you're someone like that tends to kind of peruse through like I do, that's something to be mindful of is that you want to make sure you're reading and thinking, oh, does this apply? All right. And the next, older adults are more vulnerable to toxicity of vitamin A. So children, deficiency, older adults, toxicity, which is interesting. All right. Vitamin D. Um, my professor for micronutrients. I think vitamin D must have been one of her favorite vitamins because she really hammered this in. So I didn't really make too many mistakes regarding vitamin D. Any questions on vitamin D? So this one I actually don't have too much to really review. I guess just know, the vitamin D2, ergocalciferol, vitamin D3, cholecalciferol. Vitamin D3 is the one that's synthesized in the skin. Active form 125 dehydroxy vitamin D, also known as calcitriol, works with the parathyroid hormone calcitonin, maintains calcium and phosphorus, homeostasis, helps in the intestine, bone, kidney, all that jazz. Rickets, gotta watch out for that. All right. Vitamin E. Not too much information on this one. I think, well, it's also known as tocopherol. I think it's probably because it's one of the least toxic of the vitamins. So maybe it's just not really talked about as much. It is an antioxidant. Sources vegetable oils, whole grains, green vegetables, and almonds. And you need 15 milligrams per day. All right, now the final fat soluble vitamin K, synthesized by bacteria in the lower intestinal tract, no toxicity symptoms, forms prothrombin in the liver, aids in blood clotting, and is given pre-surgery. Calcium metabolism, so that spinach, kale, broccoli, and green leafy vegetables are all sources. Males need 120 micrograms and females need 90 micrograms. And I'm not sure why I have a picture of vitamin E on here when it's supposed to be vitamin K. Uh, but yeah. All right. Next, water soluble. All right, thiamine. Um, Lost as temperature or pH rises. It's heat stable in acid, oxidation of carbs. So when you increase the carbs, you need to increase the need for thiamine. Helps with the metabolism of pyruvate, part of TPP, assists in energy metabolism, like I said before. Food sources include pork, liver, organ meat, legumes, whole grain, and enriched cereals and breads, wheat, germ, and potatoes. RDA for men is 1.2 milligrams per day and women is 1.1 milligrams per day. Deficiency disease is beriberi. Symptoms include enlarged heart, cardiac failure, muscle weakness, etc., etc. Uh, and that's that. B2 is a part of the coenzyme FMN and FAD, which assist in nutrient metabolism. You got The food sources, milk, products, whole grain, fortified or enriched grain, and liver. RDA for men, 1/3 milligram per day. Women is 1 milligram per day. Um, Deficiency includes aereo. Uh, this one I cannot say. Ereboflavinosis. Symptoms include growth failure, ichthyosis, angular stomatitis, and magenta tongue. Niacin. Niacin's pretty important. It's a precursor for tryptophan, essential in all cells for energy production and metabolism. Metabolism of carbs assists in the metabolism of carbs, protein, and fat. Part of coenzyme NAD and NADP. Food sources include milk, eggs, meat, poultry, fish, and whole grain. Fortified or enriched grain, nuts, all protein-containing foods. The RDA for men is 16 milligrams per day. Women is 14 milligrams per day. And the deficiency disease for this one is pellagra. And the way to remember the symptoms, the 4 Ds, uh, dermatitis, no, dementia, yes, dermatitis, dementia, diarrhea, and death. Sources, you got protein, peanuts, ready-to-eat cereals, chicken, rice, yeast. And I do believe I already said that. So there you go. Next is folate. Part of the coenzymes THF and DHF. DNA synthesis and new cell formation, food sources, fortified grains, leafy vegetables, legumes, and the liver. RDA is 400 micrograms per day. The upper limit is 1,000 micrograms per day. Deficiency symptoms include anemia, smooth red tongue, mental confusion, weakness, irritability, headache, shortness of breath, elevated homocysteine levels. It can mask a B12 deficiency, and a deficiency during like the crucial stages of pregnancy can also cause neural tube defects. Um, Food folate actually contains multiple glutamic acid molecules, whereas folic acid, the folate form found in supplements, contains only one glutamic acid. So these multiple glutamic acids must be hydrolyzed in order for folate to be absorbed from food sources. Very interesting. Next, we got B6, peroxidine. So this is a coenzyme in amino acid metabolism, deamination, transamination. Increased protein increases the peroxidine needs, and you can find this in meat, wheat, corn, yeast, pork, liver, or ready-to-eat cereal. All right. I don't know why it says, I think that's the test form, but this is B12. So part of the coenzymes of methylcoalbumin and deoxyadenosylcoalbumin. Say that 5 times fast. It's used in new cell formation, helps to maintain cells, um, helps to form the folate coenzyme, and helps to break down some fatty acids and amino acids. It's naturally found in animal foods and fortified cereals. The RDA is 2.4 micrograms per day. Pernicious anemia is the symptom. There's no toxicity, but you gotta watch out if you're a vegan because it's very common if you're a vegan to have this deficiency. All right, pantothenic acid. There's nothing on this slide besides pantothenic acid because there's not really much you really have to go out of your way to remember. It's in literally everything, so it's very hard to have a deficiency of this. But it is a coenzyme and synthesis. It helps with synthesis of fatty acids. Vitamin C. Um, you learn about this like I feel like from the day you're born. Everybody needs vitamin C. Everybody loves vitamin C. I feel like of the water soluble vitamins, I feel like vitamin C is like the most popular vitamin. So I don't really have much on here. Um, Obviously vitamin C is it helps with healing. And you gotta remember the way to get to collagen from vitamin C. And so you got proline, hydroxyproline, and then collagen. Next is biotin. So biotin is synthesized by intestinal bacteria and activated by avidin. The coenzyme in fatty acid synthesis converts pyruvate to oxaloacetate in gluconeogenesis. You can get this in liver, kidney, egg yolk, and yeast. And just remember that it's a coenzyme. Minerals. Calcium. This is the most abundant mineral in the body. It's regulated by PTH, vitamin D, acid, lactose aid absorption. Calcitonin lowers serum calcium by inhibiting bone resorption. Um, it helps in blood clotting, cardiac function, nerve transmission, smooth muscle contractility, and you need about 1,000 to 1,200 per day. Phosphorus. That's the second most abundant mineral. Part of DNA, RNA, and ATP. Phospholipids transport fat through lymph and blood. Um, Bone, you need it in the bone and the teeth. And sources are meat, milk, poultry, eggs, fish, and cheese, and you need 700 milligrams. Um, Next is iron, part of hemoglobin. The food form is ferric. Um, Absorbable is ferrous. Stored, ferritin. You can have iron overload. Hemochromatosis treated with iron chelation therapy. Helps with oxygen transport. Heme iron is found in animal foods. Non-heme iron is found in like the cereals, vegetables. And this one's the poorly absorbed one. But absorption is aided by gastric juice of vitamin C. Men, 8 milligrams. Females have more, 18 milligrams, because of puberty. You know, periods. You lose a lot of blood once a month. So, yeah. Next is magnesium. Part of chlorophyll, 50% in bone, 50% in cells. Protein and protein and fatty acid synthesis stabilizes the structure of ATP. High protein, calcium, vitamin D increases the need for magnesium. It's in most foods. And your recommendation is for men is 420, for females is 320, and it's very rare to have a deficiency in this one. I don't think it's as rare as pantothenic acid, though. Next is zinc. I think excess leads to copper or iron deficiency. And strict vegans may actually need a supplements of zinc. I think it's because of the food sources for this. Another interesting thing is that studies show that taking a zinc supplement when you have a cold, this is something I learned in undergrad. Taking zinc supplements when you have a cold may help to decrease the duration, but you don't want to go longer than three weeks, I believe. That's the golden time frame, because then you uh, are at risk for a copper deficiency. Very interesting. Iodine, I don't really have much on this just because um, it didn't really come up much when I was reviewing. And a lot of the practice tests didn't really have that much. I guess like the main thing you really want to worry about is the goiter thing. Um, and I guess I only have one thing in the mistake notebook for iodine, and it's that protein-bound iodine measures the level of thyroxine being produced. So the more you know. These are the other different micronutrients. I didn't really come across too many regarding like any questions regarding this that I couldn't answer. So that's why I included it here. That way I know like, oh, like these are the other micronutrients that are in your body, but and that are important, but I didn't really come across one specifically. I mean, obviously choline, like that's like the pregnancy one, like that's when it's important, and like the different micronutrients are important for different life stages. And I go into it more on my life cycle, like when I'm reviewing my life cycle notes on the different micronutrients. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was really mentioned. All right, this is all, yeah, this is all that way I really had mentioned. So chromium and zinc are involved in carbohydrate metabolism. Riboflavin, thiamine, and niacin are all involved in the metabolism of carbohydrate. An increased plasma pyruvate level is an indication of thiamine deficiency. Biotin and vitamin K are synthesized by intestinal bacteria, and the following are required for the conversion of pyruvic acid into active thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, and magnesium. All right, so that was all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.